For those who've been counting, you might know that this is the 8th time that we've run this event. We started in 2017, which doesn't sound like it should be that long ago, but actually it is. And we've run this summit every December since then, and for some of us, this has become actually kind of part of our sort of family run up to Christmas in terms of the Christmas. You don't start thinking about Christmas until you're the other side of the Digital Ethics Summit. But the fact that we're gathered here again, 8 years into running this event, I think raises an interesting question. Is the fact that we're gathered here for the 8th time a positive signal of our ongoing commitment to ethical innovation, or are we simply restating the same concerns as technology reshapes the world around us? I doubt that the answer is a simple one, and it is maybe a question that we can come back to at the end of the day as we reflect on the conversations that we've had during the day. But one thing I am absolutely sure about is that digital ethics have never been more important. The new Labour government has made economic growth its central mission and views digital technology as a major driver of that growth. And since the election in July, techUK has been in an almost constant dialogue with government about how to make that happen. As the trade association representing companies within the sector, we are, of course, optimistic about the role that tech can play in driving productivity and economic growth that will be essential if we're going to be able to fund the public services that we want, whilst also having an aging population. But if we simply innovate without thinking about the implications for people, for society, for the economy and the planet, we will at best be solving a set of old problems while creating a whole set of new ones. So when I look at the agenda for today, I'm encouraged by how much of it is about action. The very long discussions that we've had about principles and frameworks are long gone. We know what those look like. Today we'll be talking about the practicalities of legislating and regulating, about how innovation can be diffused equitably, and about building technology responsibly. And we'll be talking about the here and now a bit more, and talking about speculative sort of existential threats perhaps a little bit less. And I have to admit to being a bit relieved that we've passed through what some have called the sort of AI epiphany period, when the potential and threat of generative AI really dominated the headlines. But that's not to say that the focus on AI safety wasn't incredibly important and necessary. It was and is. Frontier models do present new risks, and the UK's leadership in establishing the AI Safety Institute will, I hope, be seen as globally significant in the years to come. But that global context is rapidly shifting. Now, we can speculate, but we don't really know what tech policy will look like under the next US administration, although Senator Ted Cruz does seem to have some quite strong views. However, it's clear that digital technology and AI is increasingly being viewed as a strategic geopolitical asset by the United States, China, and the European Union, and many others. And these huge economies will inevitably exert a significant kind of gravitational pull on UK policy. A key question for the UK, I think, in the year ahead will be whether the UK can maintain its own distinct path, or whether it will be sort of inevitably pulled into the orbit of one or other of these larger economies. But in amongst all that, we should not lose sight of the fact that there are still shared ethical foundations that persist across jurisdictions and geographical boundaries. The OECD principles continue to provide a common framework across jurisdictions, while many global companies remain committed to implementing those frameworks regardless of location, not least because of the commercial imperative to deliver AI assurance across value chains. If 2024 was somewhat defined by AI hype, 2025 is going to be all about ROI, return on investment, about the practical application of AI through products like AI agents that have the potential to bring real productivity benefits to all sorts of businesses and organizations. But those innovations will require business confidence about potential liabilities if they're going to take off. And my point being that there are real commercial drivers for the thoughtful and ethical implementation of AI, something that is, I think, sometimes a bit overlooked in our discussions about ethics and regulation. techUK recently published a paper written by my colleague Tess Buckley, setting out how member companies have been putting the AI white paper's ethical principles into practice through existing AI assurance mechanisms and standards. Work that shows, I believe, how the UK is leading the way in translating ethical principles into real action through practical governance frameworks. Now, none of this progress would have been achieved without the people who made it happen. Over the last 8 years, we've watched the developments and growth of a world-leading digital ethics community here in the UK, a community that has built the UK's capacity for action across the public and private sectors, across academia and civil society. Many people who are here in this room, some of whom were in this room 8 years ago, and some who very sadly are not here. Abhishek Gupta, founder of the Montreal AI Ethics Institute, and Dr. Michael Cattell, Turing Ethics Fellow, who spoke at this event last year, both sadly passed away this year. But their work will continue to influence and inspire how we and others continue to approach AI ethical development. I want to thank everyone in the room who's been part of the AI ethics conversation this year. We've seen significant progress, particularly in bringing ethics from the sidelines into the boardroom discussions and seeing it increasingly integrated into risk management frameworks. But there is a lot more to do as we look ahead at 2025, and I'm sure we'll discuss what this could mean throughout the day. Our closing plenary panel will particularly focus on navigating the complex landscape in the year ahead in 2025. But before we get to the closing panel, we've got a packed day of speakers, keynotes, plenary sessions and breakout sessions, and also lots of time for networking, which I hope you'll all benefit from. This year we brought together an exceptional lineup of experts and key voices to discuss several critical themes. Today we're going to be exploring the impact and implications of the technical breakthroughs that we've seen this year. We're going to consider what's next for AI regulation and regulators in the UK and assess the maturity and effectiveness of the UK's AI assurance and standards ecosystem as a translator of AI governance. In a year where organizations looking for solutions will unpack the evolving role and importance of AI ethicists and assess what efforts to professionalize these positions actually mean in practice. And given concerns about the impact of synthetic media on public trust, we're going to be debating the concept of truth in the age of AI, as well as consider the ethics of emerging technologies. So a packed day, a really fantastic gathering of speakers, bringing insights and expertise from many different and varied perspectives. But before we get going, I need to say a huge thank you to all of our sponsors, without whom the day simply wouldn't be possible. Microsoft, our headline sponsor, but Clifford Chance, Kainos, Workday, KPMG, and Infosys. And we're very grateful to all of them for their support. But I'd also like to thank our partners who we're thrilled to be working with on the summit this year. And they include the Ada Lovelace Institute, the British Academy, the Royal Academy of Engineering, the Open Data Institute, the Oxford Internet Institute, Soccertim, the Alan Turing Institute, and the Royal Society. All key players in this ecosystem of AI ethics that I think is a particular strength of the UK. We'll be live on social media throughout the day, so if you want to follow the conversation, we're going to be posting throughout the day on LinkedIn. But it's now my very great pleasure to introduce our first keynote speaker, who is the Minister Ferrial Clark, Parliamentary Undersecretary for Artificial Intelligence and Digital Government at the Department for Science, Innovation, Technology, to deliver our opening keynote on the government's view of what is an absolutely fundamental issue for all of us. So, Minister, please join us. Thank you.